Well, welcome to my Loose and Lively super easy beginners tutorial. So what I'm going to do today is something with a cat's eye, and I'm going to expand out into the face so you start to get a little view of how you might approach an eye. And it's not too daunting because you've only got to do a tiny bit of drawing. So what I want you to do is create an almond shape that's a bit wider than an almond, but pretty much an almond shape, with a little tear duct. Because we're doing a cat, the pupil is quite like the bottom of a sharp knife, so you're going to pop that in, a little highlight, and then a little bit of an eyelid just there coming down. So that's all the drawing that I want you to do. I'm on some Saunders Waterford, a small piece, 5 by 7 inches. I am going to be using 3 brushes. I've got a round number 10, a round number 6 and a rigger, a Cotman palette which I'll link in the description, but use the colours you have, because this is what's important about this, is I want you to start to use the colours that you have. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is wet inside the eye. Now I don't want too much water, so I'm going to use my round number 6 to do this, and you can see that I'm dabbing this off. The reason I don't want too much water is because I don't want it to flow too far. I am going to use lemon yellow. Any sort of acid yellow, even if you didn't have lemon yellow and you just had cadmium yellow or warm yellow, just use it, it's fine, it will work. So I'm going to pop that within the eye. So I've got a little bit of water, rinse my brush, it's clean water, and then I'm coming into cerulean blue. This is going to give a really nice green. Now you can see that I'm starting towards the top because I want that to be a little bit darker up there underneath the eyelid, and I'm letting it flow. I'm going to bring a little bit on that bottom edge. And letting it flow. It's really important. I didn't wet this bit or the highlight. That is because I don't want those to have too much of a flow in. I want to keep the highlight white. So I've just taken an extra bit of yellow around the highlight because I haven't quite got to the edge, and it's important you get to the edge. Right, I have got ivory black here. If you haven't got ivory black, you could use Payne's grey. The word of warning with Payne's grey is it's quite a shooty pigment, so you need to wait for this sheen to go off the eye. Or you can use a mixture of ultramarine and burnt umber or burnt sienna. That will make a really nice black. You just need more ratio of the ultramarine blue. Okay, so what I'm going to try to show you now is how the sheen is. I'm just trying to get it to show on camera. I'm angling light here because I want you to see the sheen. There, I can show you. So can you see that is the sheen, and I'm just waiting for that a little bit longer. It started to just go in places just here, and that's just enough. If it is too wet, it will flow too far. It's all a matter of trial and error. So I've put some of this ivory black on here, and I'm going to come down the middle first. You do need a little bit of water, but you don't want it to be loaded with water because that helps with the flow. And then I'm going to paint in the pupil. And what I want is for it to be nice and soft, and it's just going to start to flow in but not flow too far, and that's when you're waiting for that sheen to go. And then I can come around the edge of the eye and again create a really nice softness. It's a little bit like eyeliner. You're getting that really, really lovely sheen and that softness going in. So I'm going to come all the way around the eye here. Nice and dark there, nice and dark there. And what I'm getting now is a really lovely soft blend. If I rinse my brush and load it with clean water, You can dab it off once on the kitchen towel. Then I'm going to touch into that corner of the eye and touch into that corner of the eye. And I'm just sweeping outwards. That's connecting the eye to the rest of the face. So can you see that? Lovely soft eye. I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. What I want to do now is to create a little bit more shadow in the eye. So we've got a lovely soft loose layer. We do not want to lose that. So I'm going to take a little bit of the cerulean blue and pop in a bit of shadow. So I'm not coming over the highlight. I'm keeping it to that top, where the top lid of the eye is. Then there'll be a little bit coming down here. If I dip into the lemon yellow, just activate that. I want that to be a bit greener towards the bottom. I've just dropped in a little bit of that lemon yellow. Take a little bit more of the green down here. It's important that you're leaving quite a lot of light within there and you don't lose what you've created. That's looking really nice and effective. You can sharpen up the pupil by taking a bit more of the black, but I've got a lovely bleed there and I don't want to lose that, so I'm just going to take a bit in towards the top and then leave the rest. It's all about working out what's going to work for you and not overworking what you have. Okay, so I've dried that off. What I'm going to do now is start to work out from the eye. So often when you're a beginner and you're trying to work these things, it's very hard. You think, I can't draw a cat. A cat's really hard. Well, I'm just asking you to draw a cat's eye and we're just going to expand out a little bit from there. And that's going to give you part of a cat. And then every little bit that you're doing is giving you a little bit more confidence. And it's all helping with technique. You can wet the whole thing but the eye if you want to. I'm just coming around with some water. We're going to put some colour and pattern on. That's going to start to form a bit of a cat. We're not bothered about the other eye. We're not bothered about the nose or the mouth or the ears. We just want pattern and colour. Okay, so we'll go, I think, tabby cat. Bright tabby cat. So I've only got cadmium yellow. If you had raw sienna, that would work wonderfully. We might go ginger tabby cat. So I'm going to start to expand out with a little bit of a base colour. Can you see this? Directional strokes. We're stroking the head. We're starting to stroke the head. We know that the eye is going to come round like this. We know that the nose is going to come this way. So we're starting to draw with the paintbrush. We know the ear is going to be somewhere up here. This is what's lovely about loose as well, is you don't have to worry too much about what you're creating. It's wonderful what the brain can do to add it all together. So this is burnt sienna. You could use a little bit of cadmium red if you wanted to go really, really ginger. So I'm going to bring a bit down from the eye here, a little bit up here, a little bit down here. We're starting to get some directional strokes. I am referring to a tiny little bit of a picture because I don't have cats. And pop a little bit of dark in there. And some little more strokes in here. You can see it's starting to look a little bit like a cat. If I swap down to my number 6, I'm going to use a nice dark brown now. So this is burnt umber. If you didn't have burnt umber, you could use a mixture of burnt sienna and ultramarine. You could use some sepia as well. It's just I happen to have this in this palette. So I'm going to start to come in, and whilst it's all nice and wet, the number 6 gives you a little bit more control, but you're getting this lovely furry fuzziness. We're going to start to create the side of the nose. We might even get a nose in. I might even show you a little bit of a nose. These nice sort of tabby stripes in. A little bit of the base of an ear there. And just a few directional strokes, and that can be the side of the head. It doesn't have to be that complicated, really. Do a few more directional strokes there. So we sort of start to create a little bit of a nose and face there. Okay, so I'm going to dry that one off. Okay, so that's nicely dry. I'm picking up a little bit of permanent rose, and I'm going to attempt to pop a little bit of a nose in. So you'll think it's quite a bright nose, but bear with me because I'm going to lift some of it off. So I've got that diagonal strike there. It comes into like a little sausage, and then this bit comes down here. So that is the basic shape of a nose when the cat is looking sideways. If I rinse that brush off whilst it's still wet, I'm going to come in with a bit of this ivory black along that bottom edge. It's going to blend a little bit, that's absolutely fine. I'm going to rinse my brush off and dry it off. Then I'm going to lift some light out. So you can see I'm using a dry brush. If you do this with a bit of kitchen towel, it leaves a mark. If you do it like this, it leaves a lovely softness. So you don't want to use kitchen towel. And then we're lifting out basically a lot of that rose colour. But that rose colour just helped us define the shape. You just keep rinsing your brush, drying it off, and then lifting out. So you get that nice light line. And then if you're really careful, you might be able to lift a little bit out that way as well. And I've got a little bit of a nose there. Just going to dry that one off. Okay, that's nicely dry now. I'm going to take a little bit of the dark brown burnt umber, and I'm going to run it down from the nose, and I've actually got a little bit of a mouth starting to appear there. Now I'm just going to run either way, like that and like that. Rinse my brush out, and then I'm going to wet underneath. So I'm touching the paint, and I'm taking the water further than it needs to go. What I do not want to happen is to have a smiley face. It never works when you do it like that. You've got to soften in. This is the simplest form of softening in, and I'm just wetting that edge there as well. So I've got a little bit of a line, but not much. And you don't want much of a line at all on this side. You've got the tiniest little bit. If I dip into the ivory black, we're just going to make a bit of a nostril. So I've got a little bit of a nostril here on that side. You can swap down to a smaller brush and a little bit of a nostril on that side. I can also run a tiny bit of the ivory black just through the bottom there. Then with a damp brush, again, just touch that right hand side. So I've got a little bit of a nose appearing here. This is all very simple stuff for you to start to have a little play. Now, if I come from this side of the nose and add a little bit of shadow, I'm going to use the burnt umber again because that's the perfect colour. Start to get the other side of the face. So I'm going to bring that a line just like that. Then with a clean wet brush, I'm going to water that side. This is hard and soft edges at the best. You've got a hard edge defining, a soft edge blending. So I'm starting to get bits of shapes of a cat. Okay, so with a loaded brush now, I'm going to start to come in and just create a few loose strokes. So this is with my round number 10. We're just going to start to build up some additional direction on the fur, really. All of these build up. Don't eliminate everything you've got. Bit of an ear here. A little bit of shadow down there. You can see it's starting to build. You actually don't need a lot. You'll be very careful around the mouth. That's why I blended it in so much. So it can be very quickly become cartoony. I don't even think I'm going to get you to even focus on the other eye. We're just going to work from here. And just directional strokes. As if you were stroking the cat. And you can see that it's all starting to come together. If I wet my brush and just wet this bit just under here, so that you get the chin but not that hard edge there, that's going to work much better. You can touch in places with a bit of water, and that helps a little bit of a blend. I'm going to touch in a little bit there as well. You can see that's working, it's starting to work. So I think I'm going to leave it there. That's enough of a little bit of a lesson for you. And I'll do a little bit more of this sort of loose and lively style. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you next time.